Lucifer, whose name poetically translates from Latin as light bearer or morning star, and lux and fere, represents the supreme archetype of intellectual pride and celestial rebellion within the Western demonological canon. His complex origins can be traced back to the Hebrew text of Isaiah 14, verse 12, where the phrase Helel ben Shahar initially referred to the fall of a tyrannical Babylonian king. However, through the interpretations of early church fathers like Jerome, this figure was transformed into a representation of the most magnificent and luminous angel cast out of heaven. Lucifer's fundamental sin was not one of brutal malice, but of an arrogance born from his own awareness of his beauty, wisdom, and power, a conviction that he was equal to the Creator. This makes him the most dangerous tempter, as his modus operandi is not physical violence, but a subtle whisper targeting the human ego, ambition, and thirst for forbidden knowledge. He does not offer worldly wealth or lust directly, but rather a perverse enlightenment, the idea that humanity can transcend its limits and become a god unto itself. The most iconic depiction of Lucifer comes from John Milton's epic Paradise Lost, which paints him not as a monster, but as a tragic, charismatic anti-hero who challenges divine authority, choosing sovereignty in hell over servitude in heaven with his legendary declaration, "Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven." In many infernal hierarchies, such as those implied in the Ars Goetia, he is often placed as the Emperor of Hell, the ultimate source of authority from which other princes draw their power, making him the eternal symbol that the brightest light can cast the darkest shadow. Satan, a name derived from the Hebrew word meaning the adversary, the accuser, or the enemy, represents the active embodiment of hatred, rage, and direct hostility toward the divine order. Unlike Lucifer, who fell due to internal pride, Satan's evolution in theology marks a shift from a functional role to that of the ultimate antagonist. In early Jewish texts, such as the Book of Job, Ha-Satan was not a proper name but a title for a member of the heavenly council, serving as a prosecuting attorney, testing human faith and loyalty with God's permission. However, in Christian thought and medieval demonology, his identity crystallized into the arch-nemesis of God and humanity, a symbol of pure evil and wrathful defiance. If Lucifer is the philosophical rebel, Satan is the warmonger who instigates conflict. He is directly associated with the sin of wrath, a force that inflames hearts with uncontrollable hatred, inciting strife, murder, war, and a blind lust for vengeance. His power lies in his ability to sow division and destroy harmony, whether on a global scale through warfare or on a personal level through the ruin of families and communities. The Book of Revelation dramatically depicts him as the great red dragon who wages war in heaven and is cast down to earth to deceive the world, becoming the accuser of our brethren. In many demonological systems, including the Dictionnaire Infernal, he is often depicted as the supreme ruler or one of a triumvirate of hell, alongside Lucifer and Beelzebub, a figure who not only opposes but actively seeks to corrupt and destroy creation with the fire of his rage. Beelzebub, whose name is often translated as Lord of the Flies, stands as one of the most terrifying princes of hell because his domain centers on physical corruption, decay, and gluttony. His name is a Hellenized form of the Philistine deity Bal Zebub, who was worshipped in the city of Ekron and mentioned in the book of 2 Kings. Originally perhaps a god of healing or an oracle, he was systematically demonized in Jewish and Christian traditions into a high-ranking devil. In the hierarchy of the 7 deadly sins, Beelzebub is the ruler of gluttony, yet his manifestation extends far beyond mere overeating. He is the symbol of destructive consumption, an insatiable desire that corrupts not only the individual but also the environment. His terrifying power lies in his ability to command plagues, spread disease, and accelerate the process of putrefaction. The flies that are his symbol are not ordinary insects. They are a representation of death, filth, and the inexorable spread of contagion swarming over carrion and turning life into ruin. Beelzebub tempts humanity not only to eat to excess, but also toward addiction in all its forms, twisting natural desires into obsessions that consume both soul and body. In some demonological texts, he is placed as one of the 3 supreme demons alongside Lucifer and Satan, or Leviathan, indicating his extraordinary status. His depiction in the Dictionary Infernal as a monstrous creature in the form of a giant fly or a decaying figure surrounded by swarms of insects underscores his essence, the lord of all that is repulsive, who turns abundance into poison and life into festering waste. Asmodeus. Asmodeus is the infernal personification of destructive lust, sexual obsession, and burning jealousy, making him one of the most notorious demons to target human relationships. His name is believed to derive from the Persian Avestan language, meaning demon of wrath, signaling his aggressive and destructive nature. His most prominent appearance is in the book of Tobit, a deuterocanonical text, where he is depicted as an immensely powerful and malicious entity. In the story, Asmodeus falls in love with a woman named Sarah and, driven by extreme jealousy, murders 7 of her husbands sequentially on their wedding night before they can consummate the marriage. This narrative perfectly encapsulates his domain of power. He is not merely an instigator of desire, but a destroyer of sacred institutions like marriage, an inciter of adultery, and a manipulator of emotions who twists love into a deadly possessive obsession. As the prince of lust in the scheme of the 7 deadly sins, his power is to set souls ablaze with uncontrollable passion, making humans slaves to their carnal desires to the point of sacrificing their honor, loyalty, and reason. In grimoires like the Ars Goetia, he is described as a mighty king with a terrifying appearance, possessing 3 heads, one of a man, symbolizing the intelligence to seduce, one of a bull, symbolizing animalistic strength and rage, and one of a ram, symbolizing the foolishness of lust und coigot, while riding a dragon and carrying a lance. This symbolism confirms that he rules through a combination of deceit, brute force, and the exploitation of human weakness, making him the ultimate architect of the ruin that stems from unrestrained passion. Leviathan. Leviathan is the manifestation of primordial chaos and unfathomable depths, who in classic demonology was adapted into the Prince of Envy. This figure originates in ancient Semitic mythology and appears magnificently in biblical texts, such as the Book of Job, Psalms, and Isaiah. There he is described as a colossal sea monster, a cosmic serpent or dragon so tremendous that only God could conquer him. He is a symbol of wild, untamable natural forces that threaten the order of creation. His transformation into the Prince of Envy is a stroke of genius in theological psychology. Just as the ocean is deep, dark, and capable of swallowing everything, envy is an emotion hidden in the depths of the soul, corrosive in nature, and capable of drowning a person in bitterness and hatred. Leviathan does not tempt with promises of wealth or power, but with a poisonous whisper that makes humans resent the happiness of others and obsess over what they lack. His power is to instill a perpetual dissatisfaction, to fuel unhealthy rivalries, slander, and ultimately the desire to destroy what others possess simply because he cannot have it. In some traditions, he is also considered the gatekeeper of hell, specifically the hell mouth, which swallows the souls of the damned. The Dictionary Infernal depicts him as a grand maritime demon, an admiral of hell who commands the oceans. His connection to water and the deep also symbolizes how envy can spiritually submerge a person, pulling them into a silent, bottomless vortex of depression, resentment, and self-destruction. Mammon. Mammon is the potent personification of greed, materialism, and the worship of wealth, whose status as a malevolent spiritual force is directly affirmed in the New Testament. His name originates from the Aramaic word mammona, which literally means wealth, treasure, or possessions. However, his significance transcends that of a mere noun. When Jesus, in the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 6, verse 24, identifies him as an entity demanding devotion, "You cannot serve both God and Mammon." This statement elevates Mammon from a mere concept to a rival power, competing with God for human allegiance. As the Prince of Greed in the 7 deadly sins, Mammon is the architect of material obsession. He does not tempt with violence or intellectual deceit, but with the promise of prosperity, financial security, and the social status that accompanies riches. His terrifying power lies in his ability to slowly ensnare the soul, transforming the natural desire for a comfortable life into a limitless passion for accumulation. Under his influence, people begin to measure their own worth and that of others by wealth, sacrificing morality, relationships, and even spirituality for material gain. John Milton's Paradise Lost provides a sharp depiction of Mammon as a fallen angel who, even in heaven, was more preoccupied with admiring the golden pavement of heaven than the glory of God himself, a perfect image of a soul blinded by worldly glitter. Mammon often lacks a specific physical form because he is an ideology, a flawed value system. He is the empty promise that happiness can be bought and that possessions can fill a spiritual void, a lie that ultimately leads to a quiet internal ruin. Belelfagore. Belelfagore represents the most subtle and modern form of sin, sloth, which in a theological context means not just physical laziness, but also spiritual torpor, apathy, and despair. His name derives from an ancient divine entity, Bal Bal, who was worshipped by the Moabites and associated with licentious rituals in the Book of Numbers. His transformation into a prince of hell granted him a unique and cunning domain. Belelfagore does not encourage active evils like murder or theft. Instead, he seduces humanity with the promise of ease, comfort, and shortcuts. He is the demon of inventors and innovators, but with malevolent intent. He provides brilliant ideas, extraordinary technological discoveries, or get-rich-quick schemes, all designed to make people dependent on convenience and to lose the will to struggle, strive, or grow spiritually. His most dangerous power is to instill acedia, a sense of despair, and an aversion to performing important tasks, especially those of a spiritual nature. He whispers that all effort is futile, that change is impossible, and that it is better to remain stagnant in a comfort zone than to face challenges. His most famous depiction in the Dictionary Infernal as a demon sitting on a toilet or a stool of ease is a graphic symbol of indolence, stagnation, and the refusal to move forward. On the other hand, he can also appear as a very attractive man or woman to tempt his victims with promises of an effortless life. Belelfagore is thus the master of sophisticated laziness. He destroys human potential not with fire, but with a comfortable pillow, extinguishing the spirit through apathy and procrastination. Bal, whose name in ancient Semitic languages means lord or master, is one of the oldest and most powerful demonological entities whose evolution reflects the religious power shifts of the ancient Near East. Originally, Baal, or Hadad, was a chief deity worshipped widely by Canaanites and Phoenicians, venerated as the vital god of rain, storms, and fertility. However, due to theological rivalry with the worship of Yahweh, the Hebrew prophets consistently condemned his cult as idolatry. In medieval Christian demonology, his status as Lord was preserved, but its context was inverted. He became a mighty prince of hell, a high-ranking nobleman in the infernal hierarchy. In the influential grimoire, the Ars Goetia, Baal is placed as the first and principal king ruling in the East, with the power to grant wisdom, make one invisible, and command 66 legions of demons. This confirms his domain, absolute power and dominion. Baal tempts humanity not with greed or lust, but with the promise of mastery over others, political ambition, military victory, and the ability to rule with an iron fist. He is the patron of tyrants, dictators, and conquerors who thirst for power. The Dictionary Infernal depicts him with potent iconography, possessing 3 heads of a man, a cat, and a toad, which symbolize a combination of cunning intelligence, predatory agility, and a nature considered unclean, all attributes necessary to seize and maintain power by any means. As the Prince of Dominion, Baal is the embodiment of the desire to control, to rule, and to conquer, an ancient force that turns leaders into monsters. Asteroth holds a unique and esteemed position within the aristocracy of hell as a Grand Duke, a demon whose power lies not in brute force but in superior intellect and the mastery of forbidden knowledge. Like many other high-level demons, his name is the result of the demonization of an ancient deity, in this case Astarte, or Ashtoreth, a powerful goddess of fertility, love, and war, who was widely revered throughout the ancient Near East, from Mesopotamia to Canaan. His transformation from a potent goddess into a male Duke of Hell reflects Christian demonology's effort to subvert powerful pagan figures. In the infernal hierarchy, Asteroth is the intellectual. He is described as possessing profound knowledge of the past, present, and future. According to the Ars Goetia, he is willing to share this knowledge and give true answers concerning creation, the fall of the angels, including his own, and the nature of sin. However, his truth is a trap. He tempts humanity through logic, philosophy, and the liberal arts, pushing them toward intellectual arrogance and spiritual doubt. He is the patron of academics and scientists who use knowledge not for enlightenment but for ego gratification or destructive ends. His iconography in the Dictionnaire Infernal and Ars Goetia is highly symbolic. He is depicted as an unattractive or sometimes charming angel riding an infernal dragon while holding a venomous viper in his right hand. The dragon symbolizes power, while the serpent is an ancient symbol of secret knowledge as well as danger. Asteroth is thus the prince of intellectual pride, who destroys souls not with hellfire but with half-truths and misleading logic, proving that the mind can be the most dangerous battlefield. Abadon, whose name in Hebrew means destruction, and Apollyon, his Greek equivalent meaning the destroyer, is an apocalyptic entity whose role is more of a cosmic executioner than a traditional tempter. Unlike other princes of hell who are personifications of sin, Abadon is the embodiment of annihilation itself. He's explicitly mentioned in the book of Revelation 9 verse 11 as the king and angel of the bottomless pit, the abyss, who commands a legion of monstrous locusts unleashed to torment humanity during the end times. The description of this army, with human faces, women's hair, lion's teeth, and scorpion stings, paints a picture of inescapable horror and excruciating suffering. Abadon's status is often debated. Is he an angel serving God's wrath or a ruling demon? This ambiguity only adds to his terror. He is not interested in bargaining for souls, wealth, or power. His purpose is singular and absolute: to destroy, to annihilate, and to bring all things to nothingness. In later demonology, he was categorized as one of the chief demons, the master of the bottomless pit where the most ancient and chaotic forces are imprisoned. His power is not psychological manipulation, but the release of raw, world-breaking force. He is the symbol of entropy, total ruin, and the end of all things. If Lucifer represents rebellion and Satan represents hatred, Abadon represents the final point of it all, a black hole of destruction that consumes everything indiscriminately. He is the commander of the apocalyptic host, the opener of the final seal, and the personification of humanity's most fundamental fear, that in the end there is only oblivion.